discussed during the sessions. Moving on to the next session, we had 3 speakers sharing their experiences. Our first speaker was Ms. Buvan of WWF Laos, who is sharing with us about the Rattan FSC certification in Laos. She presented about the role of the government, the reason why Rattan is selected, then also showed us the certified areas. She also shared the information about the process, the benefits, challenges, and also recommendations. Continue to the next speakers. We heard a pre-recording message from the head of PGS ROLES National Council, Mr. Rasdi Wangsa. Then we were hearing more about PGS ROLES from Mr. Wisnu Charoko, who was presenting about the PGS ROLES standards, lesson learned, and also the PGS ROLES stratification. On the last speaker from the session was Ms. Diana San Jose from NTFP-EP Asia. Diana shared with us about the ASEAN guideline for NTFPs, particularly with Rattan as the focus. And at the end of that session, we had Ms. Kong Kia from Rattan and Bamboo Association of Cambodia. She gave her thoughts and reflection to what has been presented to the 3 speakers. It was such a lively discussion. As we can see, there were so many questions and comments in the chat box during the Q&A discussions. And finally, we had a breakout session where participants are discussing in a smaller group using working together using a Jamboard. There were 3 groups covered 3 different topics on traceability and legality, sustainability, and quality, which later today we will be hearing more about the group work presentation on the plenary. So that's all for the recap. I'll just stop share my screen. So now let's continue our workshop today. As mentioned yesterday, we will start our program today with the reaction from IKEA to yesterday's presentation about Rattan certification in Laos and Indonesia, and also the development of ASEAN guidelines. So joining us today, Mr. Danang Ari Raditya from IKEA. He had a very tight schedule yesterday, so he wasn't able to provide the reaction yesterday, but we are very happy that he agreed to share his reflection today. So thank you, Mas Danang, for taking out your time of your busy schedule. Before providing the reaction, let me introduce our reactor today. So Danang Ari Raditya, he has an academic background in forestry. He obtained his master's degree from University of Eastern Finland and Swedish University of Agricultural Sciences. He is currently IKEA Southeast Asia and South Asia Forestry Manager based in Indonesia. In his role, Danang covers countries where IKEA at present is purchasing home furnishing products. And his main responsibilities is to support business in the regions in securing compliance with IKEA forestry requirement, legality, traceability, and other sustainability requirements on wood and other materials. He also coordinates IKEA-funded forestry projects with external organizations to improve the responsible forest management in the regions. So, Mr. Danang, we would like to invite you to share your reflections. The floor is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Bu Natasha.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you, Bu Natasha, for the opportunity for me to give some reflections on this forum. Apologize that I could not join the session yesterday, but I was able to listen to 3 different presentations. And I'm so happy to see that we all have the same goals towards sustainable rattan sourcing. Before I jump to the reflections, I would also share a little bit about what we have been doing in IKEA in the regards of rattan. As you might know that we in IKEA also use rattan mainly sourced from Indonesia and Vietnam. At this moment, we don't have any requirement on the connected to specific certification scheme when it comes to rattan. But we have some requirements such as legality and traceability, meaning that rattans used in IKEA products should come only from the legal sources, meaning that suppliers need to provide legal ownership land, both from the state forest and farmers' land. Invoices between all peers in the supply chain also should be available. Material accounting systems should also be established in each tier, so that we have control of the input volume, production volume, and also output volume. There should also be a segregation in place between compliant and non-compliant rattan materials. So we also in IKEA also do regularly like rattan supply chain audit to verify the compliance. And we also require that rattan also have, we should know the origin up to the sub-region level. And we also should know the rattan species. And it's not only about the rattan trade name or rattan local name, but it's a mandatory for us to know also the full Latin name, because this is part of the US Legacy Act requirement when we are selling our rattan products to the US market. We also use only the IKEA approved rattan species. So beyond those legality and traceability requirements, we in IKEA also work with different organizations. We are not doing a study to understand what the sustainable yield of rattan harvest is. So by knowing this figure, then we will be able to know what is the sustainable volume of rattan should be harvested, and therefore we should not over harvest rattan. We are also working with an organization to do rattan species identification, because we have no knowledge on exact species name of rattan. There are maybe hundreds of rattan available in the forest, and we want to ensure that there is no endangered or threatened rattan species entering IKEA supply chain. We also maybe in the future that we are also going to do some other activities or some other initiative to understand more about this social aspect or human right aspect in the rattan supply chain. So that's actually what we have been now trying to develop and trying to initiate. And I'm happy to listen the sharing from Ms. Buafan from WWF Laos yesterday about the rattan certification, FSC certification in Laos, including the benefits and challenges. And by the way, we also have one FSC certified rattan in Indonesia. We in IKEA have been supporting WWF in Laos and Indonesia to certify rattans in these two countries under the FSC scheme. This is actually part of the IKEA Forest Positive 2030, meaning that we want to promote responsible forest management as a norm, and we do it beyond IKEA supply chain, meaning that even if the end products doesn't end up in IKEA supply chain at all, like this rattan in Laos and in Indonesia, we have been supporting with the FSC certification, but at this moment we are not using rattan from those two countries. But it's still, I mean, we want to promote sustainable, responsible forest management, and we believe that we do it even like what we do in Laos and in Indonesia, even if it's not connected to IKEA supply chain. And secondly, I also hear the presentation from Pak Wisnu on this PGS ROLES that is also working with traceability, and very interesting for me that with this different segregation stratification that for me it's completely new when it comes to rattan. This is the first time for me to know about this one. From this perspective, I see that we PGS ROLES have a quite strong traceability compliance system, because this is also the benefit, let's say, when from the traceability point of view, like let's say when we are selling products to US, for example, sometimes we in IKEA also have been randomly audited by the US authority, and then they come back to me, come back to IKEA, and then ask, okay, can you IKEA provide the legal documents for this finished product and also the traceability documents back to the forest. So from this point of view, I think PGS roles really have a strength in regards to the traceability. And I see also the presentation from Ms. Diana regarding the Rattan protocols, the rules of thumb for sustainable harvest of Rattan that could also be used as a guidance, especially for the Rattan harvesters, and also the socio-ecological indicators. This is also good inputs to be explored further from the perspective of buyer like us in IKEA, because I think we should go few steps higher by working on the sustainability part, not only on legality and traceability as the basic, but I think we should also gradually improve towards the sustainability part. So all those requirements, initiative, certifications that currently being developed towards sustainable rattan sourcing, I'm so happy to listen to those initiatives that also have been shared by our colleagues yesterday. It will be a very valuable input for us from the perspective of IKEA to define what could be the certification scheme when it comes to rattan in the future. So I see that legality and traceability could be the first step. That is the basic requirement, but I foresee that it is not enough. I believe we gradually should move to the other part of the rattan sustainable sourcing connected to the ecological aspect, social aspect, and also economic aspect. I see that all initiatives are moving to the same direction. What I also want to emphasize is that this is impossible to achieve this alone. We need to work together, involving different stakeholders. And I'm happy to have to join this kind of forums, to see these forums like this one. I think it's a very valuable platform as a sharing platform on different initiatives that we have been working on so far. So I think that's it, some reflections from my side. We can do it together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mas Danang. Very interesting work of IKEA towards the sustainable rattan, and also thank you for your reaction to our yesterday's presentations. So we know that you have to leave in about 5 minutes, but hopefully you don't mind to stay to take 1 or 2 questions. So everyone, if you have questions to Mr. Danang, you can leave your questions in the chat box. Or you can also raise your hand if you want.
Nat, Dean Razal has a question, but it was placed in my box. Let me copy it here for everyone in the chat.
Yes, please.
Then you may ask it.
Yes, please, Chrissy, forward the question from Dean. So
I see that. Okay, question from Chrissy first.
Okay. Oh yeah. So there's a question from this is from
Dean Razal of UPL.
This is from Dean Razal from UPLB Philippines, wondering if IKEA is aware of ISO initiative to develop a grading system for rattan. The ISO draft does not take into account sustainability, species, and legality of source.
Yes, unfortunately, we haven't heard about it yet. This regarding ISO initiative. I think it's also good to know. So if you can share more information regarding this initiative would be good.
Okay, so I saw Dean Razal raising his hands. Dean Razal, do you want to unmute yours? Hello, Dean.
Sorry. Yes, Dana. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
May I have your email address so I can send to you the draft of the ISO
Yeah.
grading system for Rattan?
Yes.
And I think it will be good for the two systems to be merged if at all we can merge them. Because as I
Thank
was
you.
saying in my message, the draft grading system for Rattan being developed by ISO, and I think this is also being supported by INBAR. This initiative is
INBAR.
also being supported by
Okay.
INBAR.
Okay.
It does not take into account the legality of the source, the sustainability, as well as the species. And I was wondering if, in your experience at IKEA, species is an important determinant of the properties of rattan, because from what I know, it only depends on the diameter of the rattan. So I'm not sure if species is critical for the properties of the rattan products. Thank you.
Yeah, just to give comments first about this ISO initiative. Thanks a lot. It would be great to share this initiative. I have written my email address on the chat, so feel free to send me this initiative. And by the way, regarding the grading system, we actually in IKEA has our own, and when we are working with supplier, we actually have kind of a grading system ourselves. But of course, it will be interesting for us also to see the ISO initiative as well. So please share it to us. And regarding the species, it's actually, when we work with rattan, we actually, of course, we want to avoid that we are using species that is being threatened or endangered. So that's from that point of view. So it's very important for us to know what is exactly the species used in IKEA products. But of course, it's not only the only indicator. Species is not the main indicator. Of course, we also need to see the quality first. So as you said that, yeah, it can be the diameter, it can be also the length, it can be also the color of the rattan. So we started with that one. So if actually rattan can comply with the quality part, and there is also no risk of using endangered or threatened species, then it's actually, we can use it. But we don't say that species is the most important one. So it's about, so it's a bit like combination between quality and species that make sure that there is no risk to use threatened rattan species. So I see like a lot of questions. So
Yes.
I will try to answer. As I will start with the first one. I think the first question, sampai di mana IKEA menjaga bahan baku yang dibeli bahan rotan tersebut sustainable pengambilannya? Menurut IKEA sendiri, bahan baku rotan dari mana yang paling banyak dan paling bagus digunakan? Saat ini kami mengambil dari, at this moment we are actually sourcing rattan mainly from Vietnam and Indonesia. Maybe I cannot say a lot regarding Vietnam, but for Indonesia, we are sourcing a lot from Kalimantan, that mainly from the smallholders land, rattan farmers land, and then from Sulawesi, mainly from the state forest. So you see that there are a lot of rattan batang, and then in Kalimantan we also have a lot of kubu. So those actually the most commercial rattan species being traded at this moment. We in IKEA actually also use it, and we do the rattan supply chain audit to ensure to make sure the legality and then the traceability part. On the sustainable part, other than traceability and legality, we have been now starting to do some initiative, but I see that we need to do more. I think when we have more things to share, then we would also be happy to share it later in different forum. But at this moment, it's still on the development phase. So we are now still on the traceability and legality part. But on the sustainable harvest, for example, is actually we have some plan that is actually going to develop, but it's maybe not ready to share yet. Okay.
Yeah. There's one more question. If we can give a very brief answer to this question from Nola, from Nola Andaya. She asked if does IKEA require FHC certification or third-party certification, or is it the organization open to PGS type of certification for its sourcing?
Yes, at this moment, we don't have any certification scheme at all, and we are actually interested to explore this PGS ROLES, and also the other one that has been shared by Ms. Diana as well yesterday. So I think during the next 1 year, we would like to get a closer context with these two initiatives. This morning I actually already asked emails of Pak Wisnu and also Ms. Diana, because it's very interesting. So I would like to have some moments for us in IKEA to have a closer dialogue and to use this time to explore further. Of course, there would be any opportunity in the future. I cannot say at this moment, but I would like to have more discussion first.
So, okay, I think it's almost 2 o'clock, so we will not hold you any longer because you have to leave. So again, thank you so much, Mas Danang. We hope we can learn further and get inputs from you to make sure that we get also input to the development of our standards to make sure it's also meet the requirements of buyers like IKEA. So
thanks a lot.
First, we're looking forward for the opportunity to work together in the future. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Good luck for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
So that's we just finished with the reaction from IKEA. So I saw there are maybe more questions coming. Maybe if you still have questions, you can put in the chat box and see if we can forwarding your questions later after the workshop to Dana. Now let's move on to our next agenda for today. Dina, can you help me to share screen about today's agenda? So today we're going to have a group work presentation. So yesterday we are all working in 3 different groups. So hope everyone managed to finish their discussions within the 40 minutes given yesterday. As today we will be hearing about your group presentations from each group. Hopefully also every group already has a volunteer to present back to the plenary today. So, so yesterday we have group 1 discussing on traceability and legality, and then group 2 discussing about sustainability, and group 3 discussing about quality. Do we have the presenter from each group to present back today to the plenary? Can I hear from group 1 if you already have your presenter for the plenary for today?
Okay, I will restate.
Okay, Yung. So Yung, you will be presenting for group 1. How about for group 2? Maybe already have a volunteer to present back the group work, and then also same as group 3. While we're waiting, can somebody help me to share screen the Jamboard? Yung, you want to present with the Jamboard, or you have your own slides, or you want us to share screen the Jamboard from yesterday?
Yeah, you can say the chamber for yesterday.
Okay.
Okay. May you say the second base first?
Okay. Hold on. I can share screen the Jamboard.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Here.
So before you, before we see the screen for the chamber, so the question for our group yesterday is, what is the aspect or should be looked at the for traceability and legalities, and what the challenge for that. So we also have a participant yesterday for group 1, and we have a short discussions around 40 minutes, and we like the chamber in the second base, and then we arrange the idea again. So we have first have a more diagram and look for clear information. So we have the first of the slide in the chamber. So can you move to the first slide, to the first page? Okay. Natasha, can you move to the first? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So after the question,
Excuse me,
yeah.
there's a request if the screen can be made larger, because the words are a bit small. Is it possible now?
I use my chambers. I can see, but yeah, I think the chamber is so small. So
yeah, there's a request from the participants. Is it possible now to make it bigger?
Another second, you have to make it
let
bigger.
me try.
So can you, if cannot, you can zoom for the website and just tap a left up. Yeah, just left first for the traceability. Yes, and make room bigger. Okay. Yeah, but so after discussion we see both of traceabilities and legalities are important, and we have then we have 5 traceability experts, and we have 2 legalities, and then we have a challenge. If you look the diagrams or the pictures in the chambers, and for the I'm going to talk about the traceability. The first of the aspects in traceability, we discussed about the cause and mass. And for the cause and mass, we would like to emphasize here is it as the cause is clearly a mass, whether from wild or farm, and the cause the raw material from the collection site to be to the factories. And the third of in the topic about cost and margins, the traceability is easier, but we usually place a mask like band mask at the end of the middle of the Rattan. And the last bond in this area, so we discuss about certificates Rattans must be physically separate or marked by the document must be separate or marked. It needs cards that will be able to trace its origin backwards. So the second aspect that we talk about spatial information. So spatial information is also important to be stored in the documents, in documentation. This is requirements to enter to the U.S. market. The third of the aspects we talk about product origins. So when it's come to the final product, the brands of the product can specify its origins. So moving to the fourth aspect, we talk about the tool and the system and the traceability. So here we have the 5 concerns. For the first one, in management system is in the place at the correct design. And the second concern here is it is better to use the PGS and manage it by the digital tool or the QR scores for them to ensure the transparency and traceability of the products. It's better to use the toolkits for the management and trace of the other products, such as the bamboo or honeys, based on the ASEAN guideline. The next one, we also need regular legal and guide to implement regular on the trace. The last one in these areas, we mentioned about suggest to the young to support the farmer apply the traceabilities. The last aspect, like the fifth aspect, in traceabilities, we ask about the phrase across. So reduce traceability to encourage more actors to be involved. I just complete to resent about the 5 concerns of the aspects of the traceability. Now I'm going to talk about the legalities. So in the legalities, we have 2 concerns. The first one we mentioned about the land and resources access. So Rattan must to be harvested from the legal areas, either rules of the land ownership and harvesting to permits from the governments. The second, traceability and legality are brought to the value chains. So Rattan must be harvested and transported along the supply chain using legal mechanism and documents. The next point, we talk about every actor along the supply, either legal and the registered entities. Moving to the other areas, we also emphasize about every Rattan can be traced up 1 step backward for every actor along to the supply chain by documents, and they should support document that should to be accompanies with the product. Sorry. So I'm completely to talk about the legality. So I'm more to. We also have the other recommendations. Before we talk about challenge, the sharing benefit model should be applied to a Rattan harvesting in the protected areas, but it should have a sustainable harvest plan and participants. Can you move to the other recommendations? Yeah. So yeah, so we have the 5 other recommendations. So the first one is a share of benefit model should be applied to the Rattan harvesting in the protected area, but it should have a sustainable harvest plan and participant core mechanism. The second one we consider in Vietnam. So Miss Bình and the other as Miss Bình said, like the other aspects, can the government should consider and recognize the PGS in Vietnam. So the third one in the organic products value chain applied participatory insurance system PGS management. We are interested in the actual producer, consumers, managers, scientists, and donors still stronger to the managed products. And companies should follow the regulations at the level of the consolidator in the village. The last one in the other recommendations, there should be regulations at the local level villages regarding that Rattan management, so that the roles of the local government are stronger, for example, for the local forestry departments. So on the other side, we think we have a lot of the challenge, three challenge we mentioned here. The first one is trade in events hard when it's come to the final products. If the processing factory use raw material from different resources, yeah, it's the first one. The second one is the farmer will not enough capacities, especially IT skill, to consider the cost. The last one in the challenge here is it is sometimes difficult to trace material when the raw material come from the different resources. So it's all information in the group 1 yesterday, and if you have any question, our group can help me to answer. Actually, I just present behalf of my group. I hope everyone can have to contribute for the group 1, and also group 1 can help me to answer all the questions.
Okay, thank you, Yung. And thank you for group 1 for a very comprehensive discussions. We can see here the subtitles is very helping. So we were able to discuss about the code and the markings. Also tackle about the legality aspect as well. So I would like to invite other participants from group 1, if you want to add more, or maybe also from group 2 or group 3, if you have comments or questions to group 1. You can leave your questions in the chat box or comments.
Okay, no one have the question, so you can move to the other room.
I'm sure they do have questions and comments. So if you have question or comments for group 1, please leave your comments or questions in the chat box, and we can come back later to answer your questions. Because we're have to continue to the next group. Maybe can I ask volunteer from group 2 to present your group work? So again, if you have comments or questions for group 1, please leave your questions or comments in the chat box, and we can come back later to your questions or comments. For now, can I invite anyone from group 2 to present your discussions yesterday from sustainability group? Oh, here. Oh, there are so many participants in at this group. So who will be presenting from group 2? Anyone from group 2?
Hi, Nat. I
Yes.
was
Yeah.
I co-facilitated with Anang, but during the breakout session yesterday, we weren't able to finish or to wrap up, so we didn't get to choose who would be the presenter. But I guess in the interest of time, I can maybe start and then invite my colleagues from group 2 to add on, if that's okay.
Yes, please. Yes, please, Diana. Thank you.
All right. So good afternoon again to everyone. So we are from group 2 and we discussed the question on sustainability. So how do we know that the harvesting of rattan is sustainable in terms of the environment and also the social aspects? So in the next slide, we tried to add on to the guidelines from PGS roles and also the ASEAN guidelines. And this is what we came up with. So for the environment, in terms of sustainability, one of the important things that we wanted to put there was the value of having secure community land tenure. So we think that this is important in ensuring sustainability. And then our colleague from Cambodia also mentioned about rattan enrichment, planting of rattans, for example, in the forests. So there was an example from Cambodia on this one. And then another point that was made was that to ensure rattan harvest sustainability, we must make sure that the amount of harvested rattan should not exceed the existing stock. And then in the next page, we also added that to be able to ensure sustainability, it is important that we keep records. Harvest records are available and are clear. And then there is also a sustainable rattan harvesting monitoring system in place. And the third point, the importance of producing a rattan harvesting plan with sustainable harvesting techniques. And then in the next slide, here we didn't add on anymore. In the previous slide, we just agreed with the PGS ROLES standards that are placed there. And so after this slide, we can move on to the inputs about the social cultural aspect. So this is the part where the discussion became very rich, as you can see in the number of sticky notes here on the board. It is quite small, but I'll try to present it. So the first point, it was shared, if I remember correctly, by Pak Jamaluddin. He suggested in the chat box that sustainability in terms of sustainable businesses should also be included or considered. And by this, he means that it should be sustainable both on the upstream at the level of the farmers and also downstream or the industry's level. And then from there, the discussion continued, and a colleague suggested that it is important to have clear commitments or agreements between the traders who get the rattan and the local peoples, especially about things like transport of rattan, the price. So the buyers and the local communities should have clear agreements about this. And another point that was added was that there should be clear sources of verification that can be used for monitoring. So it was mentioned twice actually. So another suggested if there is none yet, it should be created, these sources of verification. And then the next sticky note, to ensure sustainability, we should also think of sustainable financing for natural resources management. And then for sustainable businesses to study and review the rattan production chain. And from this, there were other suggestions such as the establishment of harvesting groups, and these groups should be inclusive. So a colleague mentioned the importance of gender mainstreaming or gender equity in the processes and in the production chain. And then for the associations, there was emphasis on more processing of raw rattan materials at the community level. And somebody suggested, how about introducing processing machinery that these rattan groups can use? And in terms of capacity building, it was mentioned that for rattan to be sustainable, processing techniques should also be provided to the producer groups. And then in the far right corner, can you go up? Sorry. It was mentioned that there should be sustainable rattan management planning done. So the local people can identify, for example, how much rattan cane can actually be collected yearly, and information about the rattan seedlings and such. I think this was from Dr. Nguyen from Vietnam. So he really emphasized the importance of being inclusive and involving local people, especially indigenous peoples and ethnic groups, because their knowledge, their traditional knowledge about the species in the forest and the quantity of how much can be harvested is very rich and should be included in their rattan management plans. And then towards the bottom, you can see the suggestion how important it is to have good documentation, not only of what the species are, but where the rattan goes after it has been harvested by the producer groups. And then lastly, in the bottom left, you can see that we also emphasize the importance of monitoring. So monitoring should be easy, and it should be done monitoring of rattan that has been processed at the community level, and also the rattan being harvested in the forests. So other suggestions before I close were having awareness raising meetings or activities for community members on the sustainable rattan protocols, and asking the locals to select which are the useful rattan species that are suitable for them, the local peoples, to plant in their areas or forests. And then if you can show the last note about the indigenous knowledge. Here, this was a point made by Dr. Nguyen. Indigenous knowledge of local groups, especially ethnic groups, should be considered. They should be involved, especially about their knowledge on disasters and calamities, the locations and species of rattan that are present in their area. So I think we weren't able to finish due to the lack of time, and this is what we came up with. I invite my other friends in the group to add on in case I missed any important points. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana. There are so many points to discuss on this group about environment aspects and also social aspects. So, and then we can see there are so many inputs, especially in the about social aspects. And earlier, Diana mentioned about the capacity building, gender mainstreaming, also to highlight about the inclusive process. I would like to invite other group member from group 2 if you want to add from your group, or also please from group 2 or group 3, group 1 or group 3, if you have questions, you can type your question.
Can I make a comment, Natasha?
Yeah, sure, Mas Wisnu, please.
Okay, actually, there are 3 types of sustainability that are social, economic, and the ecologic or environmental sustainability. And the group is mixed all together in one page, so I cannot see the difference between among the 3 sustainability. But what I can see, firstly, for environmental issue, environmental sustainability, the group is only deal with the Rotan as commodities. In other words, they only mention the good harvesting or good wild collecting practices, not this ecological sustainability at the landscape level, which have a concern from many world, many countries. So maybe you can add the sustainability in the ecosystem level. For example, when they deal with the threatened and rare species, and then when they deal with the forest cover, reforestation, or carbon stock, such as that, or high conservation value area. So the sustainability not only deal with rattan as commodities, as rattan species, but also deals with the forest ecosystem. And then secondly, the economic
Hello, Mas Wisnu. Hello, Mas Wisnu. Am I still connected?
Yes, Nat.
Yes,
Oh,
Mas Wisnu.
Mas Wisnu. Hello, Mas Wisnu. We cannot hear.
Okay. Sorry. There is problem with my connection. Okay.
You're mentioning about economic aspects. Yeah.
Oh, economic aspect. Okay. Economic aspect is very good. You have already mentioned many of them, but you lack of social aspect in sustainability. Maybe you can see the practice in fair trade, where they deal with working condition, child and forced labor, based on ILO convention mostly. That's my comment, not asking. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Mas Wisnu. I think for the points earlier you mentioned, maybe they don't add as it's already here. Maybe is that? Please correct me if I'm wrong, Diana, and others from group 2 about the fair trade. Thank you very much, Mas Wisnu, for input. So that's very important. That so you mentioned about the 3 aspects on sustainability that should be highlighted. So it's social, economy, and also ecology. There question or comments in the? Oh, there's comments from Nai Tunin. Can we add up community training center for handicrafts and searching marketing for community products? So, okay. There is also comments from Chana from WWF Cambodia, mentioned about that Rattan grow depend on the forest nearby too. So it mean that to manage Rattan have to manage forest too. So thank you. Anyone else would like to add or have questions for group 2 on sustainability? If not, then we can continue to group 3. Or if you still have comments or questions for group 2, please leave your questions or comments in the chat box, and then we can come back later. Shall we continue to group 3 to present back about the quality? So from group 3, here's the questions, the guide question for group 3 yesterday. I would like to invite group 3 to present.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of Group 3, I would like to present the result of our discussion from yesterday. So according to the guide question, the first one, what are the indicators for the good quality rattan? So we are discussing from the raw materials and also the product. The raw materials, we are thinking about the rattan cane that we are going to sourcing from the forest or from the plantation. So in some country, the rattan, the raw rattan was sold in kilo or in the volume. But in some countries, selling in cane, like in Laos, we used to support the villager to sell in cane for like a 5 meter length, and depend on the diameter of the rattan cane. In some country, like in Indonesia, selling in kilo, right? So sometimes the villager, they mix up with the other product, so it's not so good quality for the rattan cane. And some point that some participant also question about the maturity and size. This point, I think we clarify in the group that the maturity is not really important, because it's depend on the length of the rattan cane. So if the length is long enough, that means the rattan cane is like a 5 meter length, so meaning the maturity is good enough for weaving. Yeah. So for the classification, so it's depend on the size of the rattan cane. They can use the square to measure the diameter, and the villager, they can sell it according to the size of the rattan cane. So if we're talking about the quality of the product, so there are many things that we need to consider. So like the first one, I'm thinking the inspector, they may thinking about the size of the product. So according to the order, they may put the specification of the product, the size of the product, and the inspector may thinking about that, and then they will measure the size of the product is correct or not according to the order. So this is the first one. So what the question, what are the tools used to check the quality of the rattan? So for the size, we using the measurement to measure the product. And the second one, for the rattan product, they are going to check the weight of the product also. So the weight may be linked together with the moisture of the product. So if the product, each product is the same weight or a little bit different is fine. So they may use the square to measure the weight of the product. And the third one, the moisture of the product need to be measured also, because some producer may be rushed to produce the product and to export, but the inspector, they may check it also, the moisture, it's good enough, and to make sure that the rattan product will not get more later if the moisture is, if the product is dry enough. Yeah. I think we put also about the treatment, yeah, because the rattan cane, before they produce the rattan product, they need to treat also some species, some big size diameter rattan cane, they need to boil or to boil with water. Some processor, they used also the diesel to control the mold or the other insect to damage the rattan cane. It's depend on the buyer, if they interest the natural color, natural is a chemical free product, then they will mention in the order. Yeah, to prevent the mold or the termite, so we can use the pot to boiling, and also to use the kiln to dry it. Yeah. One thing that that I saw the inspector, they did to checking the smell. Why they checking the smell? Because they're afraid that sometimes the product they use the rattan cane using some chemical color, or using diesel for boiling. So they need to check also, is this product is the really natural, no mix up with the chemical and any chemical. So they use their own sense or the nose to smell it. I think the other thing they need to check also to find the defect product also, like some product there is some black spot or some hole, some scale, and others. Yeah, they need to check also. Some buyer they may don't need to use the nail or the glue, so they will check it also, because sometimes the rattan product they need to connect each other by using only rattan, so they have to find a way that one. The last one, I think about the strong and the stable product. So they need to test also, do the product is strong enough to how can say, in case that the rattan basket, they need to try also it's strong enough to put the heavy thing, like they put the stone or they put the water bottom there to test that it's strong enough. So we call the strongness there. And yeah, the break and separate of the fiber is yeah, it's include also about the strongness. The hardness and do some participant also put here durability. So I am not sure this one is, I think it depends on the species of the rattan. So some species the long last more than the other, some is not. Yeah. The last one is the color. I mentioned already some buyer they may interest only the neutral color, but some they need all the other different color, like the rattan species. The calamus genus mostly is the white color, but the other is a little bit reddish color. So some country they like the product with the reddish color, so we should select the species also. So I think I present all what we have worked together in our team. So maybe our team can add more in case I miss some, yeah, order we do not put it from yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bovan. So that was the discussion from group 3. If anyone would like to add, anyone from group 3? And also I would like to invite as well other participants from other groups, or for those who were not join any group from yesterday, if you have inputs or comments or questions for group 3, that would be very much welcome. Because as if we reflect to yesterday's presentation about standards, like for example in PGS ROLES, it's in the standards it is being discussed a lot about the traceability, the legality, and also the sustainability aspects, but not much about the quality. So if anyone have comments or inputs for this part, that would be very welcome. I see Mas Wisnu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello, it's me again.
Yeah, silakan Mas.
Okay, thank you very much. But I think the group of 3 has a good point in terms of quality. I can share you here in Indonesia, we have the national standard of raw material rattan, but it is useless since it's hard for community to measure it. but usually, firstly, there are two type of rattan in Indonesia that is different quality measure. The first type is the rattan from Kalimantan, what we call by TSI or Taman Sega Irit, which is cultivated rattan, and then rattan from Sulawesi and Sumatra. We call it as non-TSI, like Lambang, Batang, Tahiti, and like that. So they have a different term, quality and treatment. Yeah. For example, yes, I agree. There must be a process or treatment to prevent the rattan infected by mold, by fungus, and etc. In Kalimantan, they use fumigation using sulfur, but in Sulawesi, they boiling with oil. I think it is the same treatment in Laos or in Vietnam. So mostly both of type of rattan must have good size, different type. Mostly the Kalimantan, the smallest size is better, while the Sulawesi rattan, the bigger size is better. So it's different. And then the color is important. There is no black spot. There is no tiger motif in the rattan. But except in rattan in Sulawesi, there is lambang that is naturally has no good color. So they use machinery to polish the color, so to remove the outer skin. So it's quite complex system to deal with the quality for each type or each species of rattan. So it is our challenge in the future. Maybe we can make a generalization. The same, all of rattan has the same system in quality measurement, but we must see the different types of rattan itself. I think that's my comment, Mbak Natasha.
Thank you very much, Mas Wisnu. Very important point about the quality. So yeah, it's also actually being discussed yesterday in our group that it really depends on the species of product. Yes, I saw Miss Yvonne. You can unmute yourself. Yes, please.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I think that's after three presentations of three groups, we learn a lot. Yes, from the Rattan case study. Yeah. Yes, and may I would like to make a questions or comment. We implement the Rattan PGS for the bamboo. Because we now in FFF we have one area we work with the ethnic minority in Babe district, and there they have more than 100 hectares of bamboo, and now we train forest farmer to how to develop bamboo forestry for sustainable way. And we also harvest the bamboo and we make some furniture and some product from bamboo. And after the example from Rattan case study, I think it's a very suitable for us. We can implement for bamboo. Yes, this is why I would like to make sure and get the advice from the Indonesia friends. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and from this group discussion, I think that if we apply for bamboo, we also concerned about the quality, about the economy, and environment, and social, and traceability and legality.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Yvonne.
Yes, thank you very much.
So I have a bit problem with my signal, so I hope I got your point correctly. So you mentioned about PGS for bamboo, and also mentioning about would like to learn about from Indonesia about Rattan. So maybe later, because we will also have another sharing session later, and then one of the presenter will be also talking about PGS Rattan from Indonesia. So maybe we can follow up your questions and your concerns earlier later in the sharing sessions, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Yvonne. I'll check the chat box if there's a question in the chat box. I saw from Nola, do we need to align FHCM written quality standards with the ISO, or it will depend on the type of products the rattan will be used? Anyone would like to respond to questions from Nola? If we need to align FHCM rattan quality standards with the ISO?
Okay, Tracy.
Yes, Mas Wisnu. Silakan.
What I understand, ISO initiative on Rattan is now only deals with the definition, the terminology. So every country has the same terminology. What is green rattan? What is raw material rattan? What is rattan filtered, rattan core, and etc. So maybe I am wrong, but they deal not yet with the quality, only for terminology. We will wait in the near future if they have a new document on the rattan quality. Maybe we should maybe deal with that. Yeah, we will wait and see, I think.
Thank you, Mas Wisnu. I will check if we still have more questions in the chat box, as we have to move to the next session. I think, do I miss any questions or comments from in the chat box? Since it's, I think it's that's all for this part. So yeah, if before I end this session, if you have still have comments or inputs, please do leave your comments and inputs in the chat box so we can follow up later. And yes, with that, I would like to end this session, and so we can continue to the next session that there will be a sharing session on PGS in Indonesia and in Vietnam. So again, thank you. I would like to say thank you to everyone to group 1, 2, and 3. So thank you very much. And let's continue to the next session that I will hand over the next session to Chrissy, as she will be facilitating the next one. To you, Chrissy.
Thank you very much, Natasha, and thank you for all the presenters and all the comments. It's very enriching and interesting to read and learn from different experiences. We will be sharing at the end of today's workshop also what will be the next steps from this whole process. So thank you very much. So I'm back again today. I hope people will not be tired of seeing my face on the screen. This next part will be focusing more on institutions and processes. Maybe not, we can place the deck on the screen as we transfer to another segment. So for just to refresh on yesterday, and for those who were not able to participate yesterday, the Forest Harvest Collective Mark is based on participatory guarantee systems using participatory methods, inclusive methods, peer exchange, learning, and monitoring. Therefore, for us, it's incomplete if we only talk about standards in a certification system. It's also important for us to talk about institutions and processes, because for us, it's these institutions and these processes which will make the system strong. As we discussed in yesterday's from yesterday's presentations, other certification systems are quite costly, and sometimes when these the support is no longer available, then it's not possible to continue. But we are thinking, if there are strong institutions and learning, and there is also a demand and a trust from consumers and from buyers of these products, then maybe there is a way to move forward. And we're trying to see how this can be done with the participatory guarantee system, which is being applied under the Forest Harvest Collective Mark model and framework. So for this session, we have two speakers. One is from Indonesia. Yesterday, you already heard about the PGS ROLES, Rotan Lestari, or Sustainable Rattan in Indonesia, presented by Pak Vishnu. And today, his colleague, Mr. Anang Setiawan, will be presenting more about the institutions and processes, so we can learn how do we collaborate, but also how do we make sure that we ensure rigor and robust systems in this horizontal process, as Pak Vishnu told us yesterday, the difference between third-party certification and participatory systems. After Anang presents, we will also be hearing from our colleague from Vietnam to present about PGS in the organic agriculture movement. And we hope that we can also learn from their systems and processes. So I start now by inviting our first speaker, Mr. Anang Setiawan. Oh, yes, I will introduce him, but before he presents, we will play a short film for you, and then he will present. So we hope that, yeah, he will deepen the understanding from our short film. But just to introduce Anang, he is the Acting Executive Director of NTFP-EP Indonesia. He is a forester. His professional interest is in maintaining the forests as a source of livelihood for agroforestry, and also in learning about, and also in database management and geographic information systems. He has experience in forestry, agroforestry management, and in GIS as well. So before you join us on the floor, Mr. Anang Setiawan, we will present a short film about PGS ROLES for all of you to enjoy. I think, Robin, please kindly play the film. Thank you.
The Forest Harvest is a collective mark initiated by the Non-Timber Forest Products Exchange Program to enhance the market presence of community-based non-timber forest product enterprises, or CBNEs, and distinguish their products, including rattan, from other natural-based products in the market. Rattan is a natural climbing plant that grows in rainforest or in rattan gardens. Currently, there is a growing demand for sustainable products, especially in Europe and Asia for rattan. Although rattan production at community level has declined over the years due to the lack of policies that support rattan farmers. Because of this, NTFP-EP initiated the Participatory Guarantee System, or PGS, for rattan. PGS ROLES, or Rotan Lestari, which means Sustainable Rattan in Bahasa Indonesia, is an initiative that aims to apply an appropriate, effective, cost-efficient certification to rattan. This guarantees that rattan is harvested and managed sustainably. Through certification, there is an opportunity to provide added value to rattan farmers and rattan gatherers, and at the same time, promote the processing and the sustainable management of rattan. Now, we will tell you more about how the PGS Rattan system works. The first step is the establishment of the PGS unit, which involves organizing a multi-stakeholder process to review PGS ROLES applications in the process. These units are comprised of local government officers, rattan producers, and private sector stakeholders. After the meeting, the next step is to establish the PGS unit. The farmers will then undergo training. Their training would comprise of recording their harvest, documenting, and writing down their harvest techniques. Afterwards, there will be an internal review or self-assessment. The fifth step will be an audit, which includes a peer inspection. Finally, there will be a certification committee meeting to provide feedback and recommendations to comply with the standards. The standard consists of 5 criteria: legality, production sustainability, ecological sustainability, social-cultural factors, and traceability. Once satisfied, the PGS ROLES certification will be issued to the community. The PGS ROLES certification is more suitable for small producers like rattan farmers, for it lessens cost and are built on indigenous knowledge and thus are more appropriate for specific species being monitored. Let us work together towards a sustainable future for rattan.
Thank you for playing the video, Robin. That was a short peek into the model. And now we invite Anang to share in more detail about the process and institutions. Thank you, Anang. The floor is yours. Silakan. You may start, Anang.
Thank you, Ms. Chrissy. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anang Setiawan. Yeah, currently I'm working with NTFP Indonesia. I will be based in Bogor, West Java. On behalf of Rotan Lestari ROLES, Sustainable Rattan Indonesia, I would like to say thank you, to the committee for this opportunity, and I think also in the beginning of the meeting, we would like to thank you to IKEA, Ms. Danang Arya Raditya, that it was really happy that IKEA to learn more about the sustainable rattan. Thank you for the film. I think it's a good start to understand about the system, the structure, and the standard in the PGS roles in Indonesia. So in my slide, I will explain more about the PGS role start, about the standard development, establishment of PGS role national council and the PGS unit, and then how does it work, and then PGS roles verification or the process of the inspection in the PGS unit. Maybe Jessica can share the screen or. Okay. Yes, before we go through the information, I will explain maybe in the journey of the PGS Rattan. I think it was already mentioned on day one with Pak Rasdi, and then the second is by Pak Wisnu about the Rotan Lestari or Rotan Lestari, Sustainable Rattan. Next slide. The initiative it started in 2012. This was the developing idea, concept, and draft of standard and the mechanism. And then there will be a eco certification workshop about the sustainable Rattan initiative. And from until now, there are several activities. This was a finalized scheme and standard pilot testing in Kalimantan and Sulawesi in Namo, and then established the PGS Rotan National Council, and then some producer participate in fair and exhibition, and then delivering the buyer in the UK, and the last one is ongoing PGS certification process for a European flower pot manufacturer. This was the Rattan information now in roles in Indonesia. I think it's a long story for Rotan Lestari. So many activity has been done. Then how about the system and standard? Maybe next slide, please. And the system and standard was developed through research, interview, and discussion with stakeholder and district and national level, and then several group discussion held in input and feedback from farmer, weaver, government official, scientists, private sector, I think, and then NGO representative. The standard is developed consist of 5 criteria, like in the discussion in day one. There is legality, production sustainability, ecological sustainability, and then social culture factor and traceability. After that, standard and scheme is finalized. It was pilot. There will be a pilot test in Eheng village, is in East Kalimantan, and Namo village, I think in Palu, Central Sulawesi. And the detail of the 5 criteria and indicator are in, maybe next slide, Jessica. This is the detail of the criteria and indicator. There was an legality. The indicator is there is a clean tenure for the area of Rattan, and then the clear permit for the harvest, how to harvest the Rattan. No illegal activity were observed, and then the production sustainability is there will be periodically to monitoring and planning of the Rattan area, and then no harmful and ban chemical are used. And of course, harvesting does not harm the regeneration of the plant. And then the ecological sustainability, I think the harvesting does not adversely affect the biodiversity in the area. And then waste management is implemented, especially during the processing of the Rattan. In sociocultural aspect, the indicator is fair trade practice, such as no child labor, equal opportunity for men and women, good working condition. It's already observed and then capacity building and conflict resolution mechanism are in place, and there will be a benefit sharing. And for the traceability, raw material and processes Rattan can be traced back to their origin. Yeah, we use code to track the raw material and processes Rattan. Next. And the criteria, I think we mentioned before, is have more than one indicator, but in principle, we has two option to the indicator. The first one is required indicator. It's mean that the producer or farmer group or the organization must comply with this indicator when they join the Sustainable Rattan initiative. And then the progressive indicator is must not comply, the farmer group and the producer, with this indicator when they join the Sustainable Rattan initiative, but they must comply with this indicator. It depends by the time that has been agreed with the system and PGS unit. Okay, like that. Next. After the standard and scheme are finalized, roles is established. PGS National Council was role structure in Indonesia. In the structure, PGS National Council, they will manage the roles initiative, and PGS National Council consists of representative from various stakeholders such as government, NGO, researchers, academic, and also from Rattan farmer. You can see in the diagram there will be the first one is the PGS National Council, and between the PGS National Council there will be a PGS Secretariat, and now is in NTFP-EP Indonesia, and then in the district level there is a PGS unit that is managing activity in the district level. We have 3 PGS unit in West Kute, East Kalimantan, in Sigi, Central Sulawesi, and then the second is in Central Kalimantan, the PGS unit. And in the PGS unit and in the district level, maybe next slide, Jessica, is established after the roles is had the pilot testing in Kalimantan and Sulawesi. This PGS unit is same with the PGS National Council, consists of the government and etc. and the Rattan farmer. In the structure, there will be a coordinator in PGS unit and approval body, inspector, field assistant, and promotion division. You can see in the diagram, and then the coordinator will be manage all the activity, and the approval body is to approve and selected the farmer group to apply the certification. Inspector is to make the inspection process when the farmer group is applying the certificate. Field assistant is to assist the farmer to accompany the farmer group in the applying the certificate. And promotion, of course, this is the gather information to especially to the market. This was PGS unit is on the district level. There is 2 example in here. You can see in the slide. PGS unit in Kutai Barat, and then PGS unit in Sigi, Central Sulawesi. Next set. And how about the activity in farmer group? In the slide, you can see the example of PGS Rotan activity in Central and Central Sulawesi. This was implementing by roles in Central Sulawesi. Several activity has been done by roles from stakeholder meeting, establishment of PGS unit training, and then PGS unit meeting application for and review. There will be an audit, certification committee meeting, and also we have activity on the Rattan harvester group preparation for training, and then the Rattan harvester group submitted application to the PGS unit. This one the example of the process in the Central Sulawesi for PGS unit and roles in Central Sulawesi. And how about the Rattan harvester group submit application to PGS unit? Maybe next slide, Jessica. Yeah, before the Rattan group is submit the application for the PGS unit, they must prepare the document for submit to the PGS unit. The first one is group profile, is information of the group location, like a village, sub-district, district, province, and the leader, secretary, and the internal inspector maybe, and the member of the group. I mentioned before there is an indicator like a required and progressive. This one is a progressive one because sometimes if we are in the village, this group is initiated after the workshop has been for the training has been done, and then the farmer, there will be make a farmer group. The second one is the group member. Of course, this is there will be a number of the member to be a code for the farmer, and then the name and address. The third one is a list of the Rattan area or land. Like this one, like an inventory or a database of the area in the village, like a number, location, and owner name, how much, and the hectare, list of land in the area. I think there will be more than not only Rattan, I think, in the area. So we must list of the plan in the area. And the fourth one is a letter of ownership land. This is the required indicator. And then the 5 is map of the land or map of the area. And this, and then the harvest protocol. This is content of the sustainable harvest protocol based on the local wisdom in the area of roles. And the document with not with coding of raw material process. This is from the farmer or the member group. The description is, we can see in the written code for sales of raw material that selling by the farmer. And then the last one is not with coding of raw material process that the buyer or the company or the trader is buying the Rattan material from the farmer. So there will be 2 code in the document. In the farmer and then the second one is in the trader. After this document is complete, the farmer group, they will be submitted to PGS unit. The last one, Jessica, next. Yeah, how about the process? Like I mentioned before, we will see in the diagram, the first one is, sorry, yeah, and the farmer group or Rattan Federal, it applies certification, like I mentioned, and then they will submit the document to the PGS unit. So you can click the slide. And then will be a review from the PGS unit secretariat with the approval body they are sorry. And after the inspection report is delivered with the PGS unit, there will be an annual visit from the inspector member in PGS unit in district level. And after that, there will be a review again with the member of the PGS unit in district level. And then if the document is complete with the standard and scheme in roles, the PGS unit, the coordinator will give the certification for Rotan Lestari certificate. I think this is my slide, Chrissy. Thank you, and hopefully it's explained and understand with the my explanation.
Thank you, Anang, for your presentation and the explanation. And there will be one more presentation, and then if there are questions, then we have time for questions for Anang's presentation and that of the next one from our Vietnamese colleagues. Thank you. So we'll come back to you. So now we would like to call on our next speaker, who is from Vietnam, Dr. Tran Thi Tan Bin. I hope I am pronouncing it even remotely correct. Dr. Tran Thi Tan Bin is the director of the Center for Organic Agriculture, Vietnam National University of Forestry. She is a member of the Vietnam Organic Agriculture Association and the deputy head of the PGS Vietnam Coordinating Committee and a consultant for the Forest and Farm Facility. She has been teaching for 25 years in agriculture and rural development and sustainable agriculture, and has been working on participatory monitoring systems for 15 years. So we thank you very much, Dr. Tran Thi Tan Bin, for being with us today. I believe you will be presenting in Vietnamese, am I correct? Yes? Okay, yes. So great. So for those who would like to hear the presentation in English, please go to the interpretation button on the lower right side and press English, and you'll be able to hear the presentation. So thank you, Dr. Tran Thi Tan Bin. We invite you to give your presentation. The floor is yours. Thank you.
Xin chào tất cả các anh chị ạ. Mọi người có nghe thấy tôi nói không ạ?
Nghe rõ ạ.
Sau đây thì tôi xin phép được chúc các anh chị sức khỏe, hạnh phúc ạ, và chúc cái hội thảo của chúng ta thành công. Và bây giờ thì tôi xin phép được chia sẻ cái bài trình bày cái kinh nghiệm mà khi mà chúng tôi triển khai cái hệ thống PGS ở Việt Nam ạ. Các anh chị đã nhìn thấy bài chia sẻ chưa ạ? Alo. Sau đây thì tôi xin phép được trình bày ạ. Về cái vận dụng cái hệ thống đảm bảo có sự tham gia PGS và kinh nghiệm ở Việt Nam. Về cá nhân tôi thì như đã giới thiệu thì có 25 năm kinh nghiệm trong cái quá trình giảng dạy, và trong cái dự án về nông nghiệp hữu cơ ấy, năm 2008 thì tôi có là giảng viên giảng dạy ở TOT. Đến năm 2009 thì phụ trách về quản lý chứng nhận cái liên nhóm hữu cơ ở huyện Lương Sơn, Hòa Bình. Và đến năm 2010 thì là thành viên của ban điều phối PGS Việt Nam, phụ trách về cái mảng tiêu chuẩn thực địa. Đến năm 2018 thì là ủy viên ban chấp hành Hiệp hội Hữu cơ Việt Nam và phụ trách về cái mảng đào tạo. Từ năm 2019 đến nay thì tôi là giám đốc Trung tâm Nông nghiệp Hữu cơ ở trường Đại học Lâm nghiệp, và là tư vấn của cái chương trình rừng và trang trại, đã tư vấn cho chương trình áp dụng cái hệ thống PGS cho các cái sản phẩm dưới tán rừng ạ. Và trong cái bài trình bày của tôi thì có 3 nội dung. Nội dung thứ nhất là tôi sẽ giới thiệu tóm tắt về cái công việc PGS ở Việt Nam. Nội dung thứ hai thì sẽ chia sẻ cái bài học kinh nghiệm vận dụng ở Việt Nam từ PGS Bắc Cạn. Và phần thứ ba sẽ là phần câu hỏi ạ, giải đáp câu hỏi. Về PGS Việt Nam thì năm 2008 thì được hình thành từ cái dự án là phát triển nông nghiệp hữu cơ dưới cái sự tài trợ của cái tổ chức phát triển nông nghiệp châu Á Đan Mạch. Và khi đó thì có 230 thành viên nông dân và có 7 thành viên là doanh nghiệp hợp tác xã tham gia. Đến năm 2009 thì đăng ký là thành viên của iFarm, và đến năm 2011 thì hoàn thành cái bộ tiêu chuẩn PGS và chỉnh lên iFarm. Và đến năm 2013 thì được iFarm công nhận là thành viên trong cái gia đình của iFarm. Đây là cái hình ảnh mà PGS Việt Nam được iFarm công nhận ạ. Và vậy thì ai sẽ tham gia vào trong cái hệ thống này của chúng tôi? Thì ngoài cái việc mà có PGS, các cái thành viên của PGS thì bao gồm là nông dân này, người tiêu dùng này, các nhà bán lẻ và các cái tổ chức phi chính phủ cũng như là chính quyền địa phương. Trong đó thì chúng tôi rất là quan tâm đến người nông dân, là những cái đối tượng mà dễ bị tổn thương, đồng bào dân tộc thiểu số, phụ nữ, thì đó là những cái đối tượng mà chúng tôi rất là quan tâm. Và đây là cái bộ phận mà cấu thành lên PGS thì nó có bao gồm 4 cái yếu tố. Thứ nhất là hộ nông dân, thứ hai là các nhóm nông dân, thứ ba là liên nhóm, và cuối cùng là ban điều phối. Thì trong đó thì chúng ta biết rằng là ở trong cái sơ đồ trên ấy, thì liên nhóm đóng vai trò vô cùng quan trọng trong cái việc mà điều phối các cái hoạt động của liên nhóm, và ban điều phối thì chỉ có ý nghĩa trong cái việc là chỉ đạo để làm sao mà liên nhóm có thể lãnh đạo các cái nhóm, và các nhóm nông dân thì sẽ chỉ đạo các cái hộ nông dân để làm sao mà thực hiện tốt các cái hoạt động. Về chức năng của PGS thì người nông dân thì có chức năng là sản xuất, còn các nhóm nông dân thì có vai trò là sản xuất và giám sát. Đối với liên nhóm thì sẽ hỗ trợ các cái sản xuất cũng như là đảm bảo chất lượng, và đối với nhóm điều phối thì sẽ quản trị toàn bộ cái hệ thống, đảm bảo có sự minh bạch. Trên cái hình ảnh trên thì là các cái nông dân của chúng tôi thì đang đi điều tra đấy, và họp khi mà đi thanh tra. Đây là cái cơ cấu của cái PGS Việt Nam. Thì cái PGS Việt Nam khi đó là có 3 liên nhóm, đó là liên nhóm Thanh Xuân, liên nhóm Lương Sơn và liên nhóm Xuân Giang. Nhưng sau đó thì liên nhóm Xuân Giang không thể phát triển được, và hiện nay thì cái liên nhóm Xuân Giang này đã tan rã. Và đến năm 2014 thì PGS Việt Nam thì có thành lập thêm một cái liên nhóm nữa là liên nhóm Trác Văn. Và hiện nay thì ở cái liên nhóm Thanh Xuân là có 16 nhóm, liên nhóm Lương Sơn thì có 18 nhóm, và liên nhóm Trác Văn thì có 2 nhóm. Và đây là cái quy trình mà khi mà chúng tôi đi thực hiện về về cái việc mà chứng nhận đó, thì nó cũng giống như là các bạn đã trình bày từ hôm qua đến hôm nay. Đó là người nông dân thì phải hoàn thành cái bản cam kết này, rồi làm cái quản lý về nông hộ này, và sau đó là gửi lên trên nhóm sản xuất. Nhóm sản xuất sẽ cử đến 3 người để đi thanh tra đó. Sau đó là làm các cái công việc mà liên quan đến cái việc mà giám sát chéo, rồi hoàn thiện cái hồ sơ và gửi về cho liên nhóm. Liên nhóm cũng rà soát lại toàn bộ các cái công việc đó và gửi lên cho ban điều phối, và ban điều phối thì sẽ cấp chứng nhận, cấp cái chỉ số ID cho các cái hộ nông dân. Và cái quy trình đó thì chúng tôi làm thường xuyên cho hàng năm ạ. Và trong cái quá trình giám sát ấy, thì ban điều phối Việt Nam ấy, thì có ngoài cái việc mà giám sát chéo giữa các cái nhóm ra ấy, thì còn có các cái bộ phận khác, ví dụ như là sẽ có các cái giám sát độc lập từ phía ban điều phối này, hay là sẽ có các cái công ty tham gia vào, để hoặc là có những cái một số những cái hộ sản xuất hay là người kinh doanh vân vân sẽ tham gia vào trong cái quá trình giám sát. Và cái việc giám sát này thì sẽ giám sát chéo giữa các cái nhóm với nhau, và việc này cũng làm thường xuyên. Và trong cái quá trình mà cái quy trình mà ban hành chứng nhận ấy, thì sau khi mà các nông dân này có các cái nông dân mà được tham gia với các bên liên quan ấy, thì sẽ hoàn thành báo cáo gửi về lên quản lý chứng nhận. Quản lý chứng nhận thì sẽ mời mọi người đến để họp, mời các anh chị mà trong cái bộ phận quản lý chứng nhận ấy, để rà soát cái báo cáo thanh tra. Sau khi mà đi rà soát thanh tra xong thì có thể là gì ạ? Lập cái kế hoạch thanh tra hàng năm. Trong cái trường hợp đó thì sẽ phân công giám sát và liên nhóm sẽ điều phối cái việc thanh tra. Thì trong cái quá trình mà thực hiện như vậy thì nếu mà các cái nhóm mà sẽ làm tốt ấy, thì sẽ được cấp chứng nhận. Còn nếu mà trong cái trường hợp mà nhóm mà làm không tốt thì chúng tôi có thể là từ chối chứng nhận, hoặc là sẽ cấp chứng nhận trong cái điều kiện mà có thể là có điều kiện. Thì đó là trong cái thực tế mà chúng tôi hay làm ở Việt Nam. Về cái vai trò của các cái thành viên ở trong các cái về đây là cái hình ảnh mà hiện nay mà có cái nhóm G chẳng hạn, ở trên liên nhóm Lương Sơn sẽ được cấp chứng nhận, và chị Từ Thị Tuyết Nhung ấy, thì đang là trưởng ban điều phối sẽ ký vào cái chứng nhận này. Còn đây là cái hình ảnh mà của một cái công ty, người ta sử dụng cái công cụ PGS ở trên Bắc Kạn để cấp chứng nhận cho các cái thành viên là chị em phụ nữ ở trên Sơn La đấy, ở trên Bắc Kạn ạ, là bà con dân tộc người Thái ở trên Bắc Kạn ạ. Về cái hiện nay thì chia sẻ cái bài học kinh nghiệm ở Việt Nam ấy, thì trong thực tế thì PGS Việt Nam thì chỉ có 3 liên nhóm như vừa rồi tôi chia sẻ, đó là liên nhóm Lương Sơn, liên nhóm Thanh Xuân và liên nhóm Trắc Văn. Tuy nhiên thì trong cái quá trình mà 15 năm đi triển khai thì hiện nay là chúng tôi đã triển khai, hiện nay là ở các tỉnh là có 10 năm ạ, 10 năm tỉnh tham gia, và trong đó thì ở chương trình rừng và trang trại thì có PGS Bắc Kạn và PGS ở Hòa Bình là được thành lập năm 2021. Còn ở miền Nam ấy thì có 3 PGS, đó là PGS ở Bến Tre, PGS ở Đồng Tháp và một cái PGS ở huyện Kế Sách ở trong Sóc Trăng. Còn chủ yếu là chúng tôi hoạt động ở ngoài Bắc. Và trong cái quá trình triển khai đó thì chúng tôi thấy rằng là PGS ở Bắc Kạn là một trong những cái PGS hoạt động rất là hiệu quả. Do vậy thì tôi xin chia sẻ cái bài học mà khi chúng tôi thực hiện triển khai ở PGS Bắc Kạn. Đối với doanh nghiệp ấy, thì chúng tôi có 6 doanh nghiệp hiện nay đang áp dụng cái công cụ PGS, đó là PGS của cái công ty Vinh Hà ở Phú Xuyên, chuyên về trên cây rau, và PGS ở công ty Đa Xe thì chuyên về cây gia vị, và có PGS ở công ty Villasamex thì ở trên Quế Hồi, và có công ty của nông sản Bắc Kạn thì trên nghệ. Rồi PGS ở Hồng Đại Việt thì tập trung vào cái cây diệp Hạ Châu, và PGS ở Hồ Tiêu Việt thì tập trung vào tiêu hữu cơ. Thì đây là 6 cái doanh nghiệp mà hiện nay đang áp dụng PGS trong cái việc mà giám sát chất lượng nội bộ có sự tham gia. Và trong 21 cái hệ thống mà hiện nay đang triển khai ở Việt Nam ấy, thì có ở trên 13 tỉnh thành và có hơn 4.000 nông dân hiện nay đang áp dụng PGS. Thì đây là một cái con số cũng là khiêm tốn thôi trong 15 năm mà chúng tôi triển khai ở Việt Nam. Đối với Bắc Cạn, PGS Bắc Cạn trong cái chương trình rừng và trang trại ấy, thì đây là hình ảnh của các cái logo của Bắc Cạn đã được xây dựng. Đây là cái hình ảnh của những cái cánh đồng lúa nếp tài ở trên cái bản Phiêng Phàng ở xã Yến Dương, Ba Bể ở trên Bắc Cạn, và hình ảnh các cái chị em dân tộc khi mà người Dao đi thu hoạch lúa nếp tài, rồi bí thơm và gừng, rồi rong giềng. Và sau đây thì tôi xin phép được chia sẻ những cái kinh nghiệm mà chúng tôi đã triển khai ở PGS Bắc Cạn. Thì năm 2020, khi mà Ban Quản lý Dự án Trung ương Hội Nông dân có tổ chức mở cái lớp đào tạo tại cái Trung tâm Nông nghiệp hữu cơ ở Trường Đại học Nông nghiệp. Đây là cái hình ảnh mà các anh chị ở trong ban điều phối cấp tỉnh này, cấp huyện đã tham gia, cấp xã nữa, tham gia cái khóa học TOT về cái hệ thống đảm bảo có sự tham gia ở tại Đại học Nông nghiệp do Trung tâm Nông nghiệp hữu cơ đào tạo. Và cái khóa học này thì thực sự là có ý nghĩa. Sau khi mà các anh chị đã được lĩnh hội cái kiến thức đó, thì các anh chị ở PGS Bắc Cạn đã thực hiện rất là thành công. Một cái điều rất là hay mà chúng tôi thấy rằng là PGS Bắc Cạn đã làm được, hay còn gọi đó là một cái sáng kiến mà trong 15 năm qua khi mà tôi đã triển khai các nơi, thì tôi thấy rằng là PGS Bắc Cạn đã tổ chức được cái hội nghị bàn tròn và mời tất cả các bên liên quan tham gia vào trong cái hội nghị bàn tròn đó. Thì các bên liên quan mà bên PGS ở Bắc Cạn mời là các cái phòng ban chức năng này, các cái doanh nghiệp, hợp tác xã, người nông dân, và thực sự là đã phát huy được cái thế mạnh của tất cả các bên liên quan để giúp cho PGS Bắc Cạn, mặc dù là sinh sau đẻ muộn thôi, nhưng mà đã có những cái bước đi rất là chắc. Và từ cái việc mà áp dụng cái hệ thống, áp dụng cái hội nghị bàn tròn đó và triển khai cái hệ thống về đào tạo này, về thanh tra và cấp chứng nhận, thì Hội Nông dân tỉnh Bắc Cạn, hay còn gọi là PGS Bắc Cạn đó, thì đã cấp được 4 cái sản phẩm bao gồm là bí thơm, gừng, gạo nếp tài và rong giềng cho bà con nông dân sản xuất hữu cơ. Thì đây là cái hình ảnh mà sản xuất gừng của cái tổ hợp tác Tổng Chiêu. Tổ hợp tác này bao gồm có 2 thành viên và có 3,2 ha. Đây là cái hình ảnh mà của sản phẩm của gạo nếp tài của hợp tác xã Yến Dương. Thì hợp tác xã Yến Dương hiện nay là có 31 thành viên với 6,9 ha. Và đây là cái hình ảnh mà sản phẩm bí thơm do hợp tác xã Yến Dương, thì bao gồm có 12 thành viên, có trên 2 ha, và một năm thì cái sản lượng là thu được là 70 tấn. Và tất cả các cái sản phẩm này thì đã được cấp giấy chứng nhận. Đối với cả sản phẩm rong giềng của hợp tác xã Lùng Vai, thì cái sản phẩm này thì bao gồm là có 19 thành viên, của tổ hợp tác này có 19 thành viên với 5,01 ha, và một năm thì đã cho là 250,5 tấn. Vậy thì những cái bài học kinh nghiệm mà khi triển khai cái PGS ở Bắc Cạn đó, thì chúng tôi thấy rằng là qua cái nghiên cứu và theo dõi, thì chúng tôi thấy ở Hội Nông dân Bắc Cạn đã đưa ra được cái mục tiêu của, áp dụng theo cái mục tiêu, đúng cái mục tiêu của dự án đề ra. Và các cấp các ngành ấy thì rất là quan tâm, rất là ủng hộ khi mà các cái tổ hợp tác và các hợp tác xã gặp phải khó khăn. Đối với cả các cái tổ hợp tác và các hợp tác xã thì đã mạnh dạn áp dụng đúng quy trình, và đặc biệt là trong cái tổ hợp tác và hợp tác xã này ấy, thì các cái thành viên mà làm giám đốc hay là trưởng nhóm là những cái người trẻ tuổi. Mặc dù là đồng bào dân tộc thiểu số thôi, nhưng mà các em là những cái người rất là trẻ tuổi và rất là năng động, trong cái việc mà đưa sản phẩm đến cái thị trường xa hơn. Và PGS Bắc Cạn thì mở rộng một cách thận trọng cái diện tích canh tác, nghĩa là không cấp chứng nhận một cách ồ ạt mà được kiểm tra một cách rất là nghiêm túc, và các cái sản phẩm nào mà thực sự xứng đáng thì mới có thể là cấp chứng nhận cho các cái tổ hợp tác và hợp tác xã. Đặc biệt là đối với cả tỉnh Bắc Cạn hay là PGS Bắc Cạn ấy, thì đã có cái vùng quy hoạch rất là cụ thể của tỉnh, ưu thế để cho cái vùng mà sản xuất theo nông nghiệp hữu cơ, cũng như là áp dụng cái hệ thống PGS, và rất là ưu tiên đến các cái sản phẩm mà thông qua chế biến. Và hiện nay thì ở PGS Bắc Cạn ấy thì đã chế biến được cái quả bí thơm Ba Bể thành trà, và được cái người tiêu dùng ở thành phố rất là mê, rất là thích. Và cá nhân tôi thì tôi uống thì tôi cũng thấy là thực sự nó là rất là ngon, khi mà chúng ta sử dụng cái bí thơm Ba Bể và cho một chút gừng nữa, gừng của núi đá vào thì rất là ngon. Và đặc biệt cái việc mà hỗ trợ quảng bá sản phẩm ấy và xúc tiến thương mại thì đã được PGS ở Bắc Cạn rất là quan tâm, đưa các cái tổ hợp tác và các hợp tác xã cùng với cả cái chương trình rừng trang trại ở Trung ương thì đưa mọi người đi tham quan, đi học hỏi và giới thiệu sản phẩm. Thì đây là một trong những cái thế mạnh của PGS Bắc Cạn đã làm được. Và chúng tôi thì có một số cái đề xuất khi mà trong cái quá trình mà triển khai đó, thì có một số cái đề xuất như sau. Thứ nhất là vẫn tiếp tục nghiên cứu mở rộng cái chứng nhận các cái sản phẩm lâm sản ngoài gỗ như là tre. Như là ở trên Bắc Cạn đây là hiện nay là các anh chị đã có những cái sản phẩm từ tre, từ luồng, và hiện nay thì chưa được cấp chứng nhận, và những cái sản phẩm mà mây che đan từ cái sản phẩm gỗ và tre đó thì cũng chưa được cấp chứng nhận. Và cái điều này thì chúng tôi nghĩ rằng là lên có những cái nghiên cứu để làm sao mà có thể cấp chứng nhận, để giúp cho cái người nông dân có thể là áp dụng những cái sản phẩm ở dưới tán rừng. Cái thứ hai, cái đề xuất thứ hai đó là hiện nay thì phải xây dựng cái mạng lưới PGS ở trong nước và quốc tế để chia sẻ và học tập. Mặc dù các PGS ở Việt Nam là phát triển rất là mạnh, tuy nhiên thì ở trong cái quá trình mà thực hiện đó thì chúng tôi vẫn còn gặp rất nhiều khó khăn, và bây giờ chúng tôi mong ước là mình sẽ có một cái mạng lưới để làm sao mà kết nối với nhau lại để được học tập với cả bạn bè quốc tế cũng như là ở trong nước. Và cái đề xuất thứ ba đó là cần phải đào tạo để nâng cao đội ngũ. Nói thật là hiện nay chúng tôi đang rất thiếu các cái giảng viên để đi đào tạo cho các cái ban ngành, rồi là từ các cái ban ngành đó thì với cái người sản xuất. Và thưa các anh các chị rằng là hiện nay thì ở Việt Nam thì đã có cái nghị định 109, rồi có cái đề án phát triển 885, và cái nhu cầu về đào tạo về nông nghiệp hữu cơ cũng như là các cái sản phẩm dưới tán rừng để được cấp chứng nhận theo PGS là rất lớn. Nhưng mà cái đội ngũ để mà đi đào tạo đó thì hiện nay rất còn mỏng, và rất mong là được có những cái lớp tập huấn để có thể là nâng cao cái đội ngũ cho các cái giảng viên, có thể là giảng viên ở cấp tỉnh hay là các giảng viên nông dân vân vân. Và đặc biệt ý, thì với cái kinh nghiệm mà đi giảng dạy thì tôi thấy rằng là lên đề xuất ở đây là cái việc mà xây dựng cái bộ công cụ và tài liệu cho giảng viên cũng như là cho các cái lớp giảng viên TOT và FFS. Trong cái bối cảnh mà 2 năm vừa rồi ấy, là bị Covid thì chúng tôi đã bị ngừng tất cả các cái hoạt động dạy trực tiếp, và chúng tôi phải chuyển sang cái hình thức là dạy online. Tuy nhiên thì chúng tôi nhận thấy rằng là một số cái người dân tộc thiểu số, phụ nữ là không biết chữ ạ. Và cái việc mà người ta không biết chữ thì chúng tôi còn phải mời phiên dịch của phiên dịch ạ, mời các anh các chị có thể là phiên dịch để nói tiếng Thái hay là tiếng Dao cho bà con nghe. Và chúng tôi nghĩ rằng là nếu mà mình mà có xây dựng được một cái bộ tài liệu, ví dụ như là các cái video chẳng hạn để hướng dẫn cho bà con nông dân xem, hay là những cái tài liệu mà rất là đơn giản thôi thì để phát cho giảng viên hay là cho người nông dân thì rất là phù hợp. Và đặc biệt ấy, là vẫn cần phải đẩy mạnh cái truyền thông cho các sản phẩm mà hữu cơ và các cái sản phẩm ở dưới tán rừng. Trong cái quá trình mà thực hiện đó thì chúng tôi thấy rằng là các cái sản phẩm dưới tán rừng như là như là tre, rồi như là mật ong, hay là như nấm á, thì hiện nay là chúng tôi cũng chưa được cấp chứng nhận ạ. Và cái điều này thì chúng tôi luôn mong muốn là được học tập từ hội thảo, từ các anh chị, làm sao mà chúng tôi sẽ dần dần để chúng tôi hoàn thiện và đi tư vấn và hỗ trợ cho bà con được cấp chứng nhận liên quan đến các cái sản phẩm dưới tán rừng như là thảo mộc này, hoặc là như là tre, là các sản phẩm mây che đan này, rồi mật ong này, vân vân. Thì vừa rồi là tôi đã trình bày với các anh chị cái bài trình bày mà liên quan đến cái công việc mà hiện nay chúng tôi đang thực hiện ở PGS Việt Nam và cái bài học kinh nghiệm từ PGS ở Bắc Cạn. Cảm ơn sự lắng nghe của tất cả các anh chị ạ. Xin hết ạ.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tranti Tan Bin. It's a very exciting presentation. Also could see some similarities with the PGS ROLES system, even if it's, you know, one is forestry and one is agriculture. You're using very similar principles. And also I think it's the inter-agency or intergroup that's very similar to the PGS unit that Anang also mentioned, where you have traders and scientists and the farmers together, and as well as in PGS ROLES, the government and local producers all together. So I think this horizontal collaboration is also what makes PGS work and what it makes it special. Now we just have a few minutes because we do have one more workshop. So I'm inviting two questions, one for each of our panelists today, to ask them anything else about the systems that they presented, to have them elaborate anything that is of interest, or a question that you have in mind. Anybody? If no one else asks a question, while you're thinking, I will ask a question to Dr. Tranti Tan Bin. You mentioned that your system, PGS system, is supported by the government, by the authorities, right? I think you mentioned that in your presentation. But my question is PGS organic agriculture, is it seen at this, is it recognized as the same level as third-party certification in Vietnam? That's one. And connected to that, do the consumers see no difference, whether it's the PGS or the third-party organic? Do they see it as the same? Is there any difference in their perspective? Thank you.
Tôi xin phép được trả lời câu hỏi ạ. Đây là một câu hỏi rất là hay ạ. Những năm trước đây thì chủ yếu là do các cái tổ chức phi chính phủ sẽ tài trợ và hay mời chúng tôi để triển khai, để đào tạo về nông nghiệp hữu cơ. Nhưng khi những năm gần đây thì từ khi mà Nghị định 109 được ra đời, cũng như là cái đề án 885 được triển khai, thì các cái cơ quan nhà nước thì đang vào cuộc và đã được nhà nước thì đã có những cái chính sách để phát triển nông nghiệp hữu cơ. Và PGS Bắc Cạn thì đã biết phát huy được những cái lợi thế đó. Nghĩa là các anh ấy đã biết là huy động nhiều cái nguồn lực để làm sao mà hỗ trợ cho bà con. Bởi vì là thông qua một cái dự án, một cái tổ chức phi chính phủ thì cái nguồn lực nó cũng không nhiều và chủ yếu là tập trung vào năng lực và phát triển năng lực. Nhưng đối với cơ quan nhà nước thì hiện nay đã có những cái chính sách và giúp cho các cái PGS, mọi người có thể là quan tâm đến cái sản phẩm đó. Thế còn cái việc về truy xuất nguồn gốc thì cái việc truy xuất nguồn gốc thì đối với PGS Việt Nam thì hiện nay là đã sử dụng cái hệ thống xác thực số để truy xuất được cái sản phẩm. Còn ở trên Bắc Cạn thì PGS Bắc Cạn thì hiện nay cũng đang trong cái chương trình rừng và trang trại thì cũng đang mời các cái đơn vị tư vấn để giúp cho bà con nông dân viết được cái nhật ký điện tử để làm sao mà truy xuất một cách minh bạch cái sản phẩm của mình. Về cái việc mà nhận diện ấy, thì hiện nay thì đối với cả ở Việt Nam, chính phủ Việt Nam thì chưa công nhận cái hệ thống PGS ấy. Và trong cái nghị định của 109 ấy, thì mới chỉ nói là khuyến khích người dân áp dụng PGS thôi, chứ còn chưa được công nhận. Tuy nhiên ấy, thì cái sản phẩm của chúng tôi làm đến bây giờ là 15 năm và chúng tôi làm rất là nghiêm túc, rất là tử tế và trách nhiệm. Và chúng tôi có một cái điều rất là vui mừng mà khi có những cái nghiên cứu về thị trường thì người tiêu dùng đã nhận ra được cái bộ nhận diện của chúng tôi ạ, thông qua logo, thông qua hình ảnh. Và thời gian đầu là không hề chỉ có chữ ký của chị Nhung thôi và không hề có dấu đâu, không có dấu, và người tiêu dùng là tin tưởng cái hệ thống của chúng tôi làm rất là chặt chẽ, rất là nghiêm túc và được người tiêu dùng rất là yêu quý. Và đến bây giờ ấy, thì chúng tôi nhận ra một điều là thế này ạ, PGS Bắc Cạn thì lại rút kinh nghiệm từ cái PGS Việt Nam, cũng như các tỉnh khác ấy, là PGS Bắc Cạn là đã biết phối hợp các cái nguồn lực lại và đặc biệt là chú trọng đến cái người phụ nữ, người dân tộc thiểu số và những cái người mà ở vùng sâu, vùng xa. Và các cái em giám đốc cũng như là phó giám đốc thì là những người trẻ tuổi, họ ấy rất là năng động, rất là nhiệt tình và đưa cái sản phẩm ra một cái thị trường rất là lớn, xuống thành phố và đưa cả vào thành phố Hồ Chí Minh. Và thực ra là chúng tôi cũng rất là mong muốn là cái hệ thống PGS của Việt Nam ấy là được nhà nước công nhận, và hy vọng rằng là trong cái thời gian tới thì cái điều mong ước của chúng tôi sẽ trở thành hiện thực.
We will dream with you and hopefully collaborate with you as well in the future. And hopefully the Forest Harvest Collective Mark can also learn from your experience, especially in gaining the credibility of the consumers, which is a very important aspect. Thank you, Dr. Bin, and we have one question from Emmanuel Andaya, and this might have to be the last question because we still have one more segment of this workshop. What processes were important to make sure community members are engaged and have strong ownership and leadership in the PGS system? Maybe I'll ask Anang to answer this question. And also maybe for Dr. Bin, if you also have answers, maybe you can type also while we listen to Anang. I'm trying to be as efficient, but also making sure all your inputs are shared today. Yes, Anang?
Yes, I think what I mentioned before, and there is training about how we are invited in the community and all the farmer group of Rattan to include in the process to make the sustainable harvest protocol is the main important thing to engage the community member to have a strong ownership and leadership on the PGS, because from this protocol we can sign that the community are maintain the natural resource management is sustainable, so they can see that the area on the forest is sustained and they can use it over the long years to harvest the rattan, not only for now but for the for the next year, and hopefully it's sustained in the forest.
Thank you, Anang. So the community sees the long-term benefit of following the PGS process, and that has also encouraged them to stay engaged. I see that there are more questions in the chat box. I invite the interpreters to continue to translate in different languages so that maybe while we go to the next segment, Anang and Dr. Bin can continue to respond. I hope that's still okay as we move to the next segment. So thank you very much to the both of you. This has been a very exciting session on PGS in Vietnam and PGS Rotan in Indonesia. And we now move on to the next segment. Thank you very much. And I look forward to learning more from you in the continuing months and years ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have one workshop which we will be doing here in plenary. And we were thinking, because we were thinking that there would not be as many people joining on the second day, which is what happens sometimes in conferences, but we have a large number still with us today, but we hope we can do this next session quickly and within the plenary here and not go into breakout. So my colleague Natasha will be explaining the Jamboard again and the questions. Nat, would you like to do that? Or we just like me to explain? You're on mute in case you're speaking. Okay. So I will just go ahead then. Or yes, Nat?
You can continue, Christine.
Okay, so maybe we can place again the link to this Jamboard in the chat box. All right, so this activity should be completed in about 30 minutes. Let's hope we can all do it and that we can gain as much participation from everyone in the process. So for those who are not familiar with the Jamboard, it is like meta cards, meta planning, but using the technology, digital technology. What you see on the board is like, a board on the wall, and with the link, you can access this and you can get the notes from the left side of the screen and place them in the middle to answer the questions. Many were here yesterday, so are already familiar with this process. Today, for this session, we have 2 questions on institutions and verification process. I would like to give everyone first maybe 10 minutes to think about answers on their own by using the Jamboard, going into the link and writing their answers. Can we have the link in the chat? Nah, or yeah. So, and for those who are not able to access the link in the chat, please feel free to answer these questions in the chat, and we will have colleagues who will place these in the Jamboard. We also have colleagues who yesterday who were also helping us to translate the cards so that we could place them into the Jamboard. So please feel free to write in whatever, the languages where we have interpreters, and these will be placed and translated into English as well. So you will see in the chat the link to the Jamboard. Okay, so just to share, we have 2 questions. Can we make the screen a little bit bigger so we can see? Nah, there we go. So we already have some translations here. Institution and stakeholders share any best practice case or any best practice elements on effective certification. Describe how it works from national to local level. So we're especially talking about participatory processes, best practice case for institutions and involving institutions and stakeholders. What are your best practice case or best practice elements that have effectively mobilized institutions and stakeholders to have an effective certification process? So you can use the link to write on the Jamboard, or you can use the chat box. The second question, and then I guess, Nat, we should have it on different slides. So but later, we can have it on different slides. Yeah, so that it's easier for us to, okay, great. All right, let's go back to the one with both and then, all right, the second question on verification process. What steps and practices in verification and documentation have proven to be useful and effective, especially in participatory certification experiences? Now, if you have other experiences that you would like to include and that are applicable and useful in this participatory certification framework, then please feel free to write that as well on the sticky notes in the Jamboard or here in the chat box. Okay, so maybe for those who weren't here yesterday, we can just have an example of somebody going into the chat box, right? Somebody going into the Jamboard, writing something so it appears on the screen. Maybe Mila or, yeah, okay. So somebody has gone into the link and clicked on the sticky note that appears on the left side. Are you in there, Mila or Dina? Yes, so what's this? Ensure that the price of the end product will capture the added cost of certification. Was that okay, so that was a comment. Yes, so you can use the sticky notes. You see the sticky notes is the one with the hand on it. It's a square with a hand on it. You can use that to place your ideas on the screen. Okay, does anybody have any questions? So please go into the link. It's now 4:04 here, so we can come back at 4:15 and then we'll try to discuss the responses all together. I have one colleague, Diana, who is also assisting us to cluster the the common ideas, so that will help facilitate our analysis. Okay, so you may go into the link and see we already see people writing their thoughts. Ensure that the price of the end product will capture the added cost of certification. Okay, we already have in the chat, we have some written in Vietnamese. We hope we can have that translated and placed as well on the screen. So please do go to the link, and we'll meet you back in the main room in about 9 more minutes. We'll also try to read what's on the board while it appears on the board, on the screen here. Okay. Trying to access it. All right. Oopsie. Okay, so thank you to our interpreters who are starting also to translate the questions that now appear in slide 13 and 14. So the questions are in slide 12, and you may place your sticky notes in slides 13 and 14. So I hope Benny is still here and can help us place, oh, okay, some of the Vietnamese into the Jamboard, Vietnamese responses. And I hope Mila and Dina and Nat are also able to help us transfer from the chat. Okay. I see some people are writing in the slide 12, so hopefully we can transfer those as well. So apart from ensuring price, to develop coordination and collective agreements among stakeholders that have similar interest, especially the Rattan consolidators, the local government, and the district government, involving all stakeholders in the design. Okay. Oops. What about any institutions, like levels of institutions? And geographic, and also different committees that might appear. If you can also say, like in some of the models presented today, there are inspection committee, and then there's like an education committee, and there's also a certification committee. So are these kind of committees useful, or are there other models to learn from? You may also share with us any examples of process. Is it important to invite everyone in every activity, in every process, or are there points in the process where it's better to work on some things in smaller groups and some things in larger groups? And you may also want to say things about the process of how do you not only get the certificate, but how do you maintain the certificate? And what happens if you're not able to comply with standards? So what are some of the processes that are effective, especially in working with multi-stakeholder initiatives? Okay, so we have here now peer review. Local auditor can be reviewed by expert on higher level for quality assurance. Okay. So maybe we have peer group, and then we have experts that can check certain aspects such as quality. And I also see some interesting points on the institution and stakeholders. We have also easy to understand communication materials about the value of the system, the certification system, and the processes and standards. We have about 4 minutes left. I'm just checking A lot is being written in the chat box. I hope these are being transferred. Well, I see a lot being transferred, so. I see a lot of Vietnamese for our colleagues as well who are here from Cambodia, from Indonesia, from Myanmar. Please feel free to use the chat or the Jamboard itself to write your thoughts. Internal control system. Okay, great. So this is even before we have the peer visits or the inspections, the peer inspections, we must have internal control systems. Okay, we have about last 3 minutes, but don't worry, as we will be talking about the slides, we can also continue to add on to what we're seeing on the board. What about for, I mean, from maybe the PGS Vietnam group can share also, what are the processes for sanctions or because it's peer-to-peer, is there any way as well? How is bias minimized? Maybe you already have very good experience that we can share on that as well. Okay. What about the steps? Is the approval always at the local level, or are some approval processes at the national level? How do national bodies coordinate with local institutions? Okay, great. Getting more information here. For process and steps, maybe you can also mention how do you continue engaging with the consumers? Because if we set up the system, but it doesn't yet have credibility, how do we do that? And how do we keep also the farmers and other stakeholders engaged if it takes time to engage consumers? Okay, so we are in our last minute. Just for the interpreters, just and our friends who are helping us for the translation, just please kindly make sure that the last messages are also already being transferred to the slides. Then we will read them, and then Diana, how are you doing? You need some more time, I can imagine.
I think I'm okay. We'll just review the clustering.
Sorry?
I'll just review the clustering, but I think it's good. Should I be putting labels or?
Yes, you can start putting labels. We'll read what's on here, and then we can, on the 2 slides, we can read what's here, and then we can go to your clustering. How does that sound? Or you want to go to your clustering immediately? is also possible. And labels are good because I'm assuming in your clustering you have included all the cards, right?
No, I'll be using the same slides. We'll just group the similar.
Okay, you're going to do it in real time.
Yes.
Okay, right. All right. But you already have it in another place. You already kind of know how it's going to go.
I'm using the same Jamboard, Miss Chris.
Great. Okay. So we can go to you. For the next step, we'll ask Diana to assist us in our clustering process so that we can get a better understanding of the points that you have made on the board. So I'll turn over to Diana.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I hope we were able to transfer the meta cards from slide 12 to the other sheets, but this is how it looks like at the moment. So for the institution and stakeholders, there was a point, this one about communications and how important that would be. And it's also a best practice. So we have here, it's easy to understand. There are materials that would easily communicate the value of certification systems, the processes, and the standards. And there was an interesting comment right here, which said that in most cases, the PGS will replace a non-existent or would be a simpler system of setting standards. So the transition to PGS and its benefits must be effectively communicated to all parties. And then the other group is more about being inclusive and participatory. So involve all stakeholders in the design and development of the PGS. The participation of stakeholders is very important, including 5 factors: farmers, entrepreneurs, government, scientists, and donors of the NGOs. Then we also have here local institutions for regular inspections as a best practice. And this one is more about the coordination amongst various stakeholders. So build coordination and common agreements between stakeholders at the Rattan level, middlemen or the traders, village level, village government, and district government. The other one says national, regional, and local level and separate bodies and functions such as a task force for farmer empowerment, market access, standard development, and inspection and accreditation bodies. And then the ones on top, the best practices on rattan harvest and management plans. So it's also about the involvement of stakeholders, not just the local community, but also NGO stakeholders and government stakeholders. And this one, on top, ensuring that the price of the end product will capture the added cost of certification. So I think this is also connected to the importance of communicating the value of these participatory guarantee systems or certification so that the buyers would also understand and that would be reflected in the end product's value. And I guess we can go to the next slide. So this one is about the processes and steps. So we just have a few cards here and some more additionals. So this one already mentioned by Ms. Chrissy earlier, the importance of having internal control systems, peer review or local auditors. It can also be reviewed by experts on a higher level for quality assurance. And then this is a new card added, a comment that says, actually, no matter how good an organization is, if it is started with inconsistent and non-official mandate, the best document would not be able to respond to the demands. So maybe we can have more discussions on this point later to hear also the opinions of others on how we can also add on to the best practices for processes and steps for PGS and certification systems. And I think that is the last card. I checked the last slide and no more additional sticky notes in the other slides. So back to you, Ms. Chrissy. Thank you.
Thank you, Diana, for going through the slides for us. Yes. Just yeah, in summary, the main themes of participation, communication, coordination, local institutions, Rattan management plans, ensuring price, and then in terms of steps and processes, local reviews, but also having experts on certain aspects come on board to advise, and having a clear mandate to implement also adds credibility. So I think this is a very good initial step. I think there's still things being written on the board, which is good. We will be sharing all this information with you as well after the meeting. And we will, as mentioned earlier, go to succeeding steps with this information. I would like to invite then my colleagues to place on the board our next steps. Thank you very much for all your inputs on institutions and stakeholders, as well as processes and steps. We know it's been limited time, but we are glad that you have been able to provide good inputs within a limited amount of time. The slide with the next steps, maybe Natasha or... Okay. Oh, it disappeared. Did it not? Could you place it on the screen again, please? Okay, thank you. So it's been almost 3 hours. It doesn't feel like 3 hours because it's been very interesting to receive your inputs and to hear from our speakers today. But we're coming to the close of our 3 hours. And just to share with you how we will be taking your inputs, what will be the next steps forward. So we're here now in March, working on the initial inputs on the standards and standard development and on verification and institutions as well. And then in May, and we'll try to write all this up and prepare the documentation nicely. And then in May to June, we hope to convene a smaller peer group of experts that can assist us in looking both at the inputs to look at the importance as well as the practicalities of the suggestions in coming up with initial draft of the standards, and also looking as well at what would be important standards for initial compliance, as well as progressive standards, as what Vishnu and also what Anang have shared today, which are compliance in future years, which allows you what they call the phased approach or gradual compliance. So there's a minimum, and then in the next years you have gradual compliance. So we'll be looking at that in a smaller group first to make some refinements, based on those aspects, importance and practicalities. And then we would want to have a next workshop similar to this one, with having the inputs more refined. And then we would be looking at revisions later in the year. And by the end of this year, we plan to have our institution of the Forest Harvest Collective Mark Association and operations manual and other things more worked on. So we hope to have our standards body and other approving bodies at the national level already at the regional level coming into place to review these standards and hopefully for use in following years, at least the first versions. So this is the process from here. Are there any initial comments or suggestions or questions? Everybody's getting very tired because it's coming to the end of the day. Okay. So no comments as of yet, I presume, but we will be sharing the results of this workshop. We also have a website, the Forest Harvest website. Maybe my colleagues can place in the chat that the website itself that we used for the CBNE, Community-Based NTFP Enterprise Forum last year. And we will be placing as well the proceedings from this workshop and the information on that website for you to review as well. So if Mila or Natasha or Dina can place that in the chat. I'm just worried I will place the wrong one. I think is it forestharvestforum.com? Anyway, hope somebody can place that there. Yeah. All right, so we're coming to the close of our session today. And we hope you stay for another, there it is, forestharvestforum.com. So please do visit it. We will be placing our recording of the sessions, the PowerPoints, and the documentation on that website. Hopefully within a few weeks, definitely within April, and we will be sending out an email to communicate to everyone when that information is available. Yes, so we are down to our closing as we have shared with you our next steps, and we still have people entering the room. So, but please join us for our photo after the closing remarks. So I'm not sure if we have one of our board members here, but not sure if he's already left the room. And therefore I will just share the closing remarks on behalf of our organization. We thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today, especially our speakers from yesterday, Vishnu, Rasdi, Ms. Bovan, and also Diana, as well as those who helped us facilitate the sessions yesterday and today. Today, thank you very much to Anang and Dr. Bin for your insights and your sharing on your best practices and challenges. We hope that we will continue to engage and collaborate. Also for the Forest Harvest Collective Mark, which we plan to be an umbrella organization for PGS systems working within the NTFP, the non-timber forest products sector in the future. We are also envisioning that this will become a collective and inclusive association. And we also hope to reach out to many of you as we create that association together. We thank you as well to our participants who come from the farmer sector, the scientist sector, the government sector, the youth sector, the civil society sector, who have come together to give your insights and who have stayed with us in the afternoons of these 2 years. I thank you especially for my colleagues from NTFP-EP, and also especially for Natasha for being the lead in organizing these 2 days, and who will continue to help us to pull everything together. Natasha, were we able to prepare a short evaluation, or we will share that in the email? Please inform me. I'm not sure if were you able to do that, the Google form? Or
I will be sharing later via email.
Okay, so we will be sharing a short Google form, Google link, if you can share with us. So we receive our evaluation of our process. We would love to hear from all of you. So on behalf of everyone behind this 2 days event, thank you very much. We hope that we can continue to harvest, as our collective mark says, harvest insights, experiences about NTFPs to develop this standard and this mark together with you to make it a strong collective mark, a mark that will be credible with our market, and a mark that is held strong by the communities and other stakeholders that will become its members. So thank you very much. Please take care in the coming days and weeks. Please check our website, check your email. We will be in touch. And before you go, if we can close the screen and we can have our group photo together. And Diana took very good photos yesterday. Would you like to take photos again today?
Yes, sure. I can take it. But
Since
still waiting for the people to come up on screen. Yes, I see. There.
Thank you very much. Those from the Philippines, from Indonesia, from Malaysia, from Vietnam, from Laos, from Myanmar. What countries did I miss?
Almost.
Cambodia, Laos.
I'm not sure if our Cambodia, Laos, I'm not sure if our colleagues in Europe are still here or they were here yesterday. Okay, you can start taking your photos.
Okay.
Diana.
1, 2, 3. Say Rattan.
Say Rattan.
Rattan.
You can say it in your own languages.
Oh, yeah.
Uway.
1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chrissy. Yes.
Thank you very much. You can all open your microphones.
Thank you.
We can all
Thank you very much.
or write in the chat.
Thank you,
Terima
Dr.
kasih Kakak Sasa.
And very
Terima
useful
kasih.
workshop.
Orang-orang
Thank you, Dr.
cerdas.
Khairun, Miss Iwan,
Terima kasih.
Mr. Tyrone.
Miss Bovan, Mr. Dr.
Again,
Kunyan, Mr. Bansan, Vishnu, Kuan, Ben,
Thank you.
all of our interpreters,
Thank you,
Miss Keo
Natasha.
Pangkea,
See you.
Pak Safir, terima kasih.
Congrats to the team.
Jessica, thank you, Ruth. Thank you for staying. We know you're busy,
Yes,
so
I
it means a
learned a
lot to
lot.
us that you're here for
Congratulations.
2 days.
Learning for the Philippines.
Thank you, Benny. Also, thank you. Also, yang dari Namo, terima kasih. kasih banyak. To all our interpreters, also our friends from Myanmar who are here, also from WWF Cambodia. Thank you, Anang. Thank you, Dr. Bin.
Thank you.
Thank you to
And
Dean
congrats
Razal.
again.
Thank you to Femi.
Bye.
Thank you to our
Bye.
interpreters. We hope you can have some nice tea for your voice. You must be losing your voice by now for these 2 days, and also type chatting. Hello, Mr. Bansa. Nice photos in the back.
Nice.